Okay, so here we are again. We are now going to take a look at some special cases or more advanced cases beyond the basic transformations in reported speech, right? Now, first we're going to take a look at questions in reported speech, how we can report about questions that have been asked by other people, okay? And it will be a bit difficult because we need to have some extra considerations, right? Now then we will take a look at suggestions and commands and other kinds of reports of information from other people. And finally, we will take a closer look at reporting verbs. Yeah, sometimes when we are reporting information from somebody's words, we want to use a reporting verb to enrich the message, to enrich the information, to give a complementary, additional, more detailed, more precise information about the kind of message that we are reporting about. Okay. Now, first, let us take a look at the questions. When we mention questions in reported speech, we have to take into consideration two things, two options, two possibilities. First, we have yes/no questions. Okay, that we have here in the first place, and then we will consider WH questions. Right now, first yes/no questions. Okay, what are yes/no questions? Here are two examples. Are you Spanish? The answer would be yes or no. Are you Spanish? Yes, I am. This is a yes/no question. No, I'm not. Okay. Do you like football? It's another yes/no question. Because you can answer yes or no. Do you like football? Yes, I do. Do you like football? No, I don't. Okay. In this particular case, when we are talking about yes or no questions, in these kind of questions, we always use if or whether. Okay. If means see, whether means see. What is the difference between if and whether? There is absolutely no difference. No difference. Okay. They are exactly the same. The only little difference might be if is more common than whether. Whether is a bit more formal, whether is a bit more poetic, more academic, let's say. But basically the meaning is exactly the same. Okay. Robert said, "Are you Spanish?" Robert dijo, ¿eres español? Robert me preguntó que si yo era español. Okay. This que si yo era español corresponds to if or whether. Okay. Now, and here we have the transformation, okay? We must remember the right spelling of the word weather, okay? Do not mistake it with tiempo atmosférico, the weather. Weather today is beautiful, okay? So there is a different spelling, a clearly different spelling between one and the other. So for these two yes/no questions here in the example, this is direct speech, and here in the box we can see the transformation into reported speech. Okay, so Robert asked if or whether I was Spanish. Of course, for questions we will use ask. Okay, normally this is the most common. Okay, we wouldn't say Robert said if I was Spanish. No, it doesn't fit correctly together. Me dijo que sí, we can say that in Spanish, but in English we cannot say Robert told me if no, or Robert said if whether no. Ask. We need specific reporting verbs for the questions in reported speech. Okay, we will see them in detail later on. Okay, first we can see the differentiation, the difference between yes/no questions and WH questions below. Okay. Now this is another possibility. If we don't want to use ask all the time, we have some alternative. We will see a total of four alternatives, okay? Four different options for questions in reported speech, okay? This one we are using wanted to know, okay? The only difference between ask and wanted to know is that we can say Robert asked if whether I was Spanish, or we could also say Robert asked me if whether I was Spanish. Whereas with wanted to know, the problem is that we cannot use the indirect object. Okay, so Isabel wanted to know me. No, that's not correct. Isabel wanted to know. This is what we have here, but we cannot use the indirect object. Okay, Isabel quiso saber a mí. No, we don't say that even in Spanish, okay? It's even in Spanish. So Isabel wanted to know if whether I like football. So there is a typical transformation from the present, do you like, to liked in the past, okay? The back shift, el salto al pasado that we typically have in the reported speech transformation, okay? Now, these are yes no questions, even weather, okay? And then we go on to WH questions. For WH questions, what are WH questions? Here we have some examples. And they begin with who, what, which, where, when, and how. How is not exactly WH, but it is considered within this group, okay? Now, in WH questions, what we have is a WH word beginning the question, what is your name? For example, here, where do you live? We had in the second example, how can you open this door in the third example, okay? Right? And then we have some reporting verbs. So I try to use different ones because this is direct speech. We can use inquire, we can use ask, and we can even use said, because this is not inside the question, okay? This is not connected to the question yet. It will be in the transformation, but not now, okay? So for the transformation, we will basically use the same WH word. We will not have to use another structure, another word, different word, but the same WH word will be used, okay? And here we have the three transformations: inquire, ask, and wanted to know. Let us highlight them. Inquire, she inquired what my name was. Inquirió cuál era mi nombre. Preguntó cuál era mi nombre. Okay, what my name was. Now, there is something important when we have the transformation in questions for reported speech. There are two important decisions, two important actions that we have. In the direct speech question, we have a question mark. Okay, question mark in all the examples. For the WH questions, but also for the yes/no questions, I use Spanish, yeah, because this is directly the question that was asked initially, okay, right? But pay attention, because in the transformation, when we have the reported speech example, the reported speech transformation, then we do not have any question mark, okay? Why is this? Because this is not a question anymore. I was Spanish is not a question. This is an indirect question, but not a question anymore, because this is not the question structure. I was Spanish. This is a statement structure, not a question structure. Okay? I liked football. This is not a question anymore. This is not a question structure. My name was. This is not a question structure. Okay? So, in the transformation into reported speech for questions, we must remember that the question disappears. We do not have a question anymore. So we don't have the question mark anymore, and we do not have the question structure anymore. So if there is an auxiliary, for example, where do you live? We have an auxiliary here. Then here we will not have an auxiliary, because this is not a question anymore. The question is needed for the auxiliary. Sorry, the auxiliary is needed for the question, but not for the transformation. Okay, right now. And the same here, how he could open the door. Can transform it into could, because we are doing the back shift, okay, for this modal verb. But then there is no question mark and there is no question structure anymore, okay. Now, for this particular example, for said, we also have we have used wanted to know. It wouldn't be possible to have said here, because this is now part of the question report, okay? So it's a reported question, so we need a reporting verb that is appropriate for a question, okay? Even if the structure, as we just said, is not that of a question. Now let's go on to more things about questions in reported speech, okay? So here we have, okay, questions in reported speech. We have the traditional four verbs that four reporting verbs that we use for questions. They are ask, inquire, wonder. Okay, let us highlight them. Okay, want to know and inquire. Okay, there is a difference. Ask is the most flexible. It can be followed or not by the person addressed, by the indirect object. Okay, so it can take an indirect object. like as we can see in this example. He asked me what I had got in my bag, or he asked what I had got in my bag. Me is not compulsory. It can be omitted. We can use it or not. Okay? But inquire, want to know, they cannot take an indirect object. Okay? So if we wish to report a question where the personal address is mentioned, if we want to mention a person, then we need ask. Okay, ask is the most flexible, the most practical, the most common also, of course. He asked Mary when the next train was. Okay, because Mary is important in the message, then we need to use ask in this case. Okay, so if we use inquire, wonder, or want to know, then we must omit Mary. Okay, he wanted to know when the next train was. It's possible, correct. He inquired when the next train was. Okay, and wonder means preguntarse. He wondered when the next train was. That would be another possible transformation. Okay, so this is enough about questions. We're going to move on now into suggestions, commands, requests, advice in reported speech. Commands, órdenes, requests, peticiones, advice, consejo. Okay? Right, so we normally use specific verbs, okay, for these kinds of structures. But before we take a look at this, I want to show you something before. Um, I want to show you the infinitive and gerund constructions in reported speech that will be very useful for them for taking a look at the commands and advice. Okay, we have different blocks. In block 1.1 we have these verbs: agree, refuse, offer, promise, open, and threaten, followed by infinitive. Okay, these are very common, very frequent, very popular in reported speech transformations. Okay, these are very common reporting verbs, and they include part of the message, part of the meaning. Okay, would you wait half an hour is a question asking me to wait. Okay, and I say all right. Okay, she asked me this question and I said all right. So when I said all right, we could report it as he said it was all right, but that's not very communicative, really. Okay, so we can say Tom agreed to wait. Tom said he would wait is also possible. This is like the standard typical transformation, but Tom agreed to wait is much richer. Okay, now would you lend me another $150? No, I won't lend you. No. Refused. No, I don't refuse to lend her any more money, because you have got a lot of money from me now. Okay, I'll help you like offer. Yeah, he's offering. Paul is offering to help. Okay, Paul offered to help him and me. Of course, we can also say this. Yeah, say that he would help me. Okay, now we have assure, we have promise here in these two examples. Okay, these verbs also promise is one of the verbs that can also use the infinitive. Okay, right? Kidnapper threatened. Threaten means amenazar. Threaten to kill. Amenazaron con matar. Okay, but also this would be possible, right? Okay. Then we have another block, 1.2. We have some other verbs that would take a gerund. Okay, some of them with a preposition. For example, insist on, apologize for. Okay, accuse plus object plus of. Accuse me. He accused me of taking the money. Okay, of taking the money. Pay attention, this is ing, okay? Gerund, as we saw here, okay? Yes, I took it. He admitted, he admitted taking the money. He admitted taking it. No, I didn't take it. He denied taking the money. Admit, deny, okay? I'll pay for both of us, okay? Insisted on paying. Let's each pay our own share. No, I pay. He's insisting, yeah? So he's insisted, Tom insisted on paying, right? Okay. Now, even if we have these particular infinitive or gerund structures, some of them can also, of course, take a that clause, the normal transformation with a that clause, okay? Add, admit, answer, argue. Argue means argumentar, afirmar algo. Assure, asegurar, boast, fanfarronear de algo. Complain, quejarse, deny, negar. Explain, grumble, quejarse de algo. Gruñir por algo. Observe, point out. Point out means señalar. Okay, remark, señalar too. Remind, recordar a alguien de algo. reply, contestar. They can all take that clause. He pointed out that it was raining. He promised me that he would come. He promised me to come, of course, but he promised me that he would come. Okay? Right. So we had already seen the questions, and now we go to the commands, request, and advice in reported speech. Okay? So many of these verbs will take the object plus infinitive construction. What is this? This is it. He advised Bill to hurry. Object Bill plus infinitive construction. She advised Bill to hurry. Aconsejó a Bill darse prisa. It is also popular in Spanish. He told Tom to get his coat. Le dijo a Tom coger su abrigo. This is not very common in Spanish, but in English it is very common. This object plus infinitive construction. Okay? You have a wide list of verbs that can take this object plus infinitive construction. Don't swim out too far, boys. I warn the boys not to swim. Pay attention to the negative for the infinitive here, okay? Asked me to sit down, invited me to sit down, right? Begged, implored, rogar, le rogó que no tomara ningún riesgo, okay? Right? Ordered her to forget, le ordenó que olvidara, okay? Le dijo que no le volviera a ver, okay? O contestara sus cartas, right? Okay? So here we have more examples. Yeah, reminded her husband to order, recordó a su esposo que encargara el vino. Urge, animó, me animó a solicitar el empleo, okay? And then we have a very special verb, the verb suggest, which is very similar to recommend, okay? Recommend and suggest can take a gerund. For example, Mom suggested going to the cinema, sugirió ir al cine, okay? But also, we can also take the base form or the should plus the base form, okay? Mom suggested that we should go to the cinema, or Mom suggested that we go to the cinema, okay? Both are possible. The only difference between the first example and the second example is the first one is more colloquial, second one is more formal, okay? Right? And then finally, we have some exclamations here that can also take a reporting verb that includes part of the meaning, okay? You can take a look at it. All right. So this is about it for reported speech. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye-bye.